Hey folks, it's Viejo here. The video you're about to see here is one that I'm reposting from my previous channel that had been deleted. So if you've seen this video, feel free to bypass it and move along to something else. Won't hurt my feelings at all. But I have had some requests to repost some of the videos from that other channel that are not likely to get channel strikes against them. So we're going to do that. And at the beginning of each of those videos, you'll see this very same prologue, so you'll know. All right, happy shooting, casting, and reloading to everybody. Catch you later. Hey guys, it's Viejo here. Good morning. It's morning here in Viejoville. It's going to be a warm one today. We've got a nice day, clear and sunny outside, but it's going to get hot. It'll be 80 plus degrees here, and that's hot for this area. None of us have air conditioning, so it'll be warm. I only got 74 here in the garage, 65% relative humidity. So kind of a nice day. And what we're going to talk about here today is I'd had some questions recently about this rain scrap stuff that I have, and a couple other friends, we were talking recently also about the cost of some of our alloying metals and how those prices have gone up. And so what I want to do today is talk a little bit about how free is this free lead, okay? Because it's not really free, even if you are using clip-on wheel weights and whatever. There's some expense involved in it. And how does that compare to actually buying your casting alloy online, ready-made and ready to put in the pot? You may have seen a video of mine in the series From Berm to Bullets about me collecting this rain scrap at my local gun club. And I'm going to put in a clip from that video just so you get an idea about what this stuff looks like before I get it smelted down and turned into ingots. And this is dirt, and you can see all of the spent bullets that are down there, and I'm just going to dig right into that stuff with my scoop. We can see everything that's down there, and I'll shake it a little bit and get rid of all of the dirt, and then it just goes right into my bucket, and in about 5 minutes I'll have that bucket 2/3 of the way full with about 30 pounds of lead. So that's what it looks like kind of in the raw form. And then what I do is I bring that home, and I used to use just one of my old Lee casting pots. I have an older Lee 420. I have a newer one now that I use periodically. But I had turned that one into my smelting pot, and it was okay. It just didn't hold very much at a time. So then I went to a turkey fryer that I got at a garage sale for like 25 bucks, and I think it's a 5-quart cast iron pot, and that's a little more efficient, okay? But even then, the propane to run the turkey fryer is not free. I got my calculator out and did a bunch of ciphering this morning, and that probably has cost me, it's not a lot, right? It's about a nickel a pound is what it's working out to be based on the cost of propane here in my area. And it's not huge, but it's there. It's a piece of the picture. A lot of work involved in getting this stuff converted into ingots. I just did about 100 pounds of rain scrap here a couple days ago. Here's a quick just photo of that stuff. Okay, and that was 75 pounds worth of ingots that I got out of that 100 pounds, but that was an easy 2 hours worth of work, probably a little bit more time I count set up and clean up, okay, putting everything away. And it's heavy work, right? It's lead, it's heavy. So there's something of an investment in time and labor there, time to go pick it up. And again, if you're using clip-on wheel weights, which we used to use here in California, and they were free for almost ever, but lead wheel weights are outlawed in California now, so they're just not available. You still had to drive around and pick them up, and that wasn't a big deal back when gas prices were cheap. But now, You know, if you're making a special trip just to go pick up your lead wheel weights, it's going to cost you a little bit in fuel there also just to pick them up. I suspect that most of you would do like me, and you would arrange to do that when you're already out running errands anyway, and you could probably neglect the cost of gas to go collect your clip-on wheel weights. Well, kind of the rest of the story here is this stuff usable just the way it is? And the answer is yes or no, because the alloy that you cast with needs to be of a particular hardness, even with powder coating, based on the destination cartridge that you're going to make. Now, powder coating has mitigated a lot of what we used to have to pay attention to. Let me show you in the Lyman manual a couple things. All right, here we are in Lyman's Cast Bullet Handbook, looking at 9mm Luger bullets. Here's some load data, and this is a bullet that I use a lot of, this Lyman number 356402 truncated cone style bullet, around 120 grains. And that's with what's called a Lyman number 2 alloy. And that is 90% lead, 5% tin, and 5% antimony. And you would have to mix this. You can buy it online, but Lyman number 2 alloy has gotten quite expensive. Okay, if you go to buy that stuff at Rotometals, for example, it's about $4.50 a pound for a true Lyman number 2. You can mix your own, and I will show you a recipe, or give you a recipe for this if you're using clip-on wheel weights, and I'll tell you what I do to mix this if I need to mix Lyman number 2. But I'm here to tell you that my range scrap over here, plus just a little bit of tin, these little nuggets here are cut from a tin wire. I get this stuff from Rotometals, and more on that later. But those little nuggets are tin, and I would add about that many. That's about 1/8 of a pound, all 4 of those together, to a stack like that. That's roughly 10 pounds of range scrap. And that's going to give me an alloy whose Brinell hardness is around 11 or 12. Okay, it varies a little bit depending on what it was that I pulled out of the berm at the gun club. Lyman number 2 alloy has a Brinell hardness of about 15. But if I run this mix that I use here, okay, that much range scrap and that much tin, I don't need to have a Brinell hardness of 15 if I powder coat my bullets. That powder coating mitigates some of the needed Brinell hardness for the bullet itself. Okay. Now, I have run this stuff with no tin. I've run it just as is, and it's fine. I don't get any barrel leading. It works. Okay, in these 9mm cartridges, and you can see, you know, our pressures are fairly high. Now, this is copper units of pressure, not PSI, but those are some pretty good numbers. Okay, if we compare that to the pressures in a .38 special round, for example, okay, if I go to a similar weight bullet, okay, and these are PSI, and again, but that's way less than 35,000 cup. Okay, so our pressures are lower, and again, that range scrap is fine with pressures like this. Okay, I really don't need to add anything to it. The main reason that I add this little bit of tin is it helps with flow out in the bullet mold. Okay, it helps me get a little more sharply defined edges. Okay, the melt seems to flow better out of the pour spout and so forth. Maybe just my perception, but it seems to me like it runs a little bit better with that little bit of tin. So kind of keep that in mind. Okay, that's 1/8 of a pound of tin for 10 pounds of range scrap. We'll come back and see what that's really going to cost me to do that. Okay, so again with my range scrap here, and you know, do I really need to add the tin? No, I don't really need to. The hardness comes out after I powder coat and quench following the powder coat. The Brinell hardness works out to 11 or 12. Okay? And that's plenty hard with a powder-coated bullet for almost all of the rounds that I shoot. Where you need to get really a higher BHN with powder-coated bullets is when we start going to much higher pressure rounds, such as found in our rifle loads. So if I add this amount of tin, that's $4 worth of tin right there, okay, at today's prices. It's running around $30, $32 a pound from rotometals.com where I get it, although today I just looked at it and it's down to 25 bucks a pound, so I bought some more. And at the rate that I'm paying for at the rate I'm paying for propane, you know, a nickel a pound, so I got 50 cents worth of propane maybe into this, and $4 worth of tin, so I got you know, $4.50 into that 10-pound stack, 45 cents a pound, okay, to make my casting alloy. And that's going to work out for a 200 grain bullet, and I'm going to use that 200 grain bullet as a benchmark here, that kind of as an average, right? That's going to take the cost of my 200 grain bullet to just a little over a penny a bullet. Pretty darn cheap, even though got a lot of labor in there, okay? So we're not counting labor on this. If I need to make Lyman number 2, though, which is 90% lead, 5% antimony, 5% tin, using my range scrap as a base, then I've got to add a couple of other metals. This bar right here is a material known as super hard, and that again comes from rotometals.com. And that stuff's running around $6 a pound right now. Okay. So if I'm going to make this into Lyman number 2, a 95.5, that takes my price per pound up to $2.18 a pound. Okay, I got to add a lot of tin with that. Okay, and in order to make my Lyman number 2, then you know I'm going to start with 8.5 pounds of lead. Okay, about like that. Okay, and I'm going to add 3/4 of a pound of super hard, and I'm going to add a 1/2 pound of tin. Well, that tin, okay, that really cranks the price up. So I'm right there at $2.18, $2.20 a pound to make Lyman number 2, and that takes the cost of my 200 grain bullet from a little over a penny up to 6 cents. Okay, so that's pretty high. So I don't do that if I don't really need it. If I want to make an alloy that we refer to as 9262, okay, that's 92% lead, 6% antimony, and 2% tin, so a way lower percent tin than Lyman number 2. Incidentally, that Lyman number 2 has a BHN again of about 15. 9262 is in that range, usually a little bit more, 16, 17 BHN. Okay, and because I'm using a lot less tin to make that, it comes in cheaper. So with this material here, my range scrap, I take 7.5 pounds of that, 1 pound of the super hard, okay, and about 1/6 of a pound of tin. And that stuff is going to cost me about $1.40 a pound to make. But still, it raises the cost of my bullets from a little over a penny up to 4 cents per 200 grain bullet. So, you know, a little over a penny, just using this and a little bit of tin for a bullet. Lyman number 2 cost me 6 cents for the same 200 grain bullet. And a 9262, also known as hardball alloy, about 4 cents a bullet. All right. You can go buy Lyman number 2 from Rotometals, and theirs is $4.50 a pound. So it's expensive from those guys. But there's other sources. If you don't have a source of, quote, free lead, okay, even though it's not really free when we start adding up what it takes to use it. There are several companies that you can find hardball alloy, 9262, okay, alloy. Acme Bullet Company, will get it to your doorstep for about $4.48 a pound. That's one of the pricier ones. Missouri Bullet Company, about $3 a pound, counting shipping and tax. And that's about as reasonable as I have seen a 92.62. Midway USA sells a hardball alloy. Their stuff is about $5 a pound plus shipping and tax. So, you know, you'd have to find it on a free shipping day. And so it's expensive from those guys. Again, Missouri Bullet Company, I think right now has about the best deal on a hardball alloy. There's another online source that I have not used personally, but it looks pretty good. There's a company called rmrbullets.com, right across the bottom here, okay? And they produce bullets, and they have their bullet cores that they would swage their jackets around, okay, or plate, depending on what they're going to do with them. And they will sell you those lead cores for $1.60 a pound. And that's antimonial lead. It's essentially the same stuff as I'm collecting out of my range scrap. Antimonial lead. Runs around 3% or so antimony. 0 to practically no tin in that stuff. Antimonial lead is what people like Sierra and Hornady and these folks use as the cores of their bullets. Well, RMR Bullets will sell you the bullet cores, and they're little small chunks, okay? Really easy to handle. That's one nice thing about those, is they're in small pieces, smaller than these, all right? And that stuff, antimonial lead, again, this stuff here is antimonial lead. That will give you a BHN of about 10, maybe a little bit more if you powder coat and then water quench. You'll probably end up at about 11, about the same place as I do. Okay, adding this little bit of tin like I do does not increase the hardness significantly. Okay, it's not worth mentioning. Okay, it might go up a point, but that's doubtful. Tin does not increase your hardness very much. Okay, it's the antimony that will bring your hardness up faster. Water quenching does pump it a little bit. And the more antimony, the more your water quench will increase your hardness. So RMR bullet cores, I wish I had some to show you, but I don't. $1.60 a pound for a BHN 10, more or less ready to use. If it were me and I was buying those, I would add a little bit of tin, okay? But that's going to increase your cost per bullet. At $1.60 a pound for the RMR bullets, your 200 grain bullet's going to be about 4.5 cents per. If you add a little bit of tin to it, add another penny per bullet. So kind of back to the whole free lead concept. You got to go buy a melting system. You don't want to smelt this stuff down, and by that I mean heating it up, removing the jackets, or if you're using clip-on wheel weights, you got to heat all those wheel weights up. You got to sort them and make sure you don't have any zinc in there. That's a real taboo, is to put zinc wheel weights in with your lead wheel weights. You don't want to do that. And you don't want to do it, I don't think, in your regular casting pot. So you got to have an apparatus on hand, either just some kind of a cast iron pot with a heat source under it. The turkey fryers work pretty well if you can pick one up cheap enough and run them off propane. So you've got to separate the clips, the steel clips, from your clip-on wheel weights. You got to get those out. So you still got to smelt the wheel weights. So there's time and effort, small amount of cost involved with doing that too. So, and then for me, I increase my cost by adding the tin. Don't really need to do it, but I like to do it. It gives me a better flow, I think, in my molds. So there's that. I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. If you're thinking about getting into casting and you go, well, what about my alloy? Where am I going to get it? And we've talked about this before. I've got a couple other videos out there. If you can bring your alloy into your doorstep for $2 a pound, you're doing pretty well. Okay. You know, even my stuff here, which starts off being free, by the time I add this, I'm at 45 cents a pound already. So if you can come up with a source for range scrap or clip-on wheel weights, clip-on wheel weights are going to cost you right about the same, you know, by the time you add a little tin or alloy it up into Lyman number 2 or 9262. If you're going to alloy up like that, clip-on wheel weights, can, you know, assuming you got them free, it's going to cost you about the same as it did for me. Okay, time you go up to a Lyman number 2 from clip-on wheel weights, you're going to be looking at around $2 a pound. And Lyman has a couple of recipes back here in the back of their book for making your own alloy. It's back on page 297 if you have the book. And they got a couple formulas here for using wheel weights. One of them is 9 pounds of wheel weights with a ½ pound of pure lead and a ½ pound of tin. Well, that ½ pound of tin, that's $15 at least worth of tin in today's market, okay, to make 10 pounds of alloy. So you're up there also, you know, pushing $2 a pound. You can also make it if you have linotype, which has a lot of tin in it. Okay, and it has some antimony in it. You can make a Lyman number 2 equivalent, 15 BHN for with sus, 4 pounds of linotype and 6 pounds of wheel weights. Okay, but again, the linotype might cost you $4 a pound right now, unless you've got a free source for that. And we used to be able to get that for free also from the printing industry, but there are not many newspapers that are using linotype anymore. Yeah, we're smelting down a little bit of linotype. I got this stuff relatively inexpensively from a fellow over on eBay. Okay. So, all right. That's as far as I wanted to go with that today. If you got questions, you know, you put them down there in the comments, and if I can answer them, I will. But that's sort of where I'm at. You know, I think it came out to 1.3 cents per bullet with. I should put these guys over here. Okay, with that alloy right there. Okay, based on me not spending any cash for this, just putting in some labor and about a nickel a pound worth of propane to get this into this form. Okay, if I have to go up and make Lyman number 2, I almost am not going to do that. Okay, when that Lyman number 2 is costing me $2.20 a pound to make, even using this, compared to a 9262 that's I can make for $1.40 a pound because I've got way less tin in that. All right. So that's where I am with my casting alloys and kind of a little bit of a cost breakdown. All right. I hope that was helpful for some of you, but for now, that's all she wrote.